evening, everyone. In the midst of chaos, there's an opportunity, says Sun Tzu in his famous book, The Art of War. Not trying to oversimplify the ongoing crisis, but let's get real and make use of the best that's available for us. As the novel pandemic, COVID-19 outbreak, it's taking its toll on millions of people around the world. I thank God Almighty for keeping us safe and also for helping us conduct this webinar on behalf of the Department of English under the leadership of Reverend Father Joshi Chiramkuri CMI, the principal of KCMT, and Mr. Cijo Joseph Chennelil, the head of the department. I, Aishwarya, Biju, and Aleena Anna Aji of second year BA English together welcome you all to the webinar on the significant stalwart of Romantic era. Before we begin, let's take a moment of silence. I request the participants to take note of a few guidelines for the smooth conduct of the webinar. I request the participants to mute the audio to avoid any kind of disturbances. I also request the participants not to post anything in the chat box unless you have a question to raise. All the questions that are intended for the Q&A session are to be posted in the chat box. A feedback form will be posted in the chat box at the end of the webinar, where an e-certificate will be mailed to you upon its completion. Now, I invite Ms. Aleena Anna Aji of second year BA English for the welcome speech.
Thank you, Aishwarya. Good evening and a very warm welcome to one and all present here. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this auspicious occasion. Thank you each and everyone for being here today. I am truly esteemed to welcome all of who are the integral part of this webinar. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our dear principal, Reverend Father Joshi Chiramkuri CMI, who with his excellent managerial skills is rightly the pillar of this institution. Unfortunately, he could not join us today. Thank you, Father, for your constant support. Now, I take this opportunity to welcome the Honourable Chief Guest, Mr. Basudev Paul, whose presence and words will surely evoke our thoughts, and who has the capability to enlighten us with his valuable teaching. I hereby welcome Sir to this webinar. Cijo Joseph Chennelil, Head of English Department, is an individual who hardly needs an introduction. He delights us with his expertise and knowledge in every way possible. I welcome you, sir, to this webinar. And our sincere appreciation to Ms. Sheena Susan Baby, who generously helped us in making this event become a reality. I also welcome all the KCMT students and the ones joining in now, hoping that each of you will gain an insight from the session. I welcome all of you once again, and I hope you will all have a fruitful session. Thank you.
Thank you, Aleena. Mr. Cijo Joseph Chennelil, head and heart of the English department, whose faith and motivation always helps us to be better. Now, I invite Cijo sir to introduce our speaker.
Reverend Father Joshi Chiramkuri CMI, the principal of Kristu, the College of Management and Technology. Unfortunately, he is not here solely because he does have a busy schedule. He does have so many things to look after. So he has entrusted me in conducting this particular webinar. And also the English teachers of the department, Sheena Susan Baby, Nisi, as well as Nisha Miss, Jeremy Miss, Needu Miss, and all other teachers who are present over here. And also all the students who are here to attend this particular webinar. So I will have to introduce the speaker. So definitely I will have to do that honors. And I needed to tell you it will be an elaborate introduction because I admire this the resource person of today's webinar. Make no mistake about it. I admire him a lot because of his poetry. I know the quality of his poetry, what sort of poetic merit that he does have, the kind of flourishment that he, or this type of flourishment that his poetry brings forth. Basudev Paul, Professor Parimal Mitra Smriti Mahavidyalaya, West Bengal, it's a towering personality. Make no mistake about that. Because you have to go through his verses and poems to understand that. I think he is a wordsmith. Make no mistake about that. I'm saying that in no uncertain terms. These are not a symbol or a kind of exaggeration. It's not so. And in the world of unique, he is a towering personality in the world of unique and stylish poetry of exquisite and elegant nature. He writes poems of highly effective and efficient nature, and I have been, I have gone through many of his poems. I have been enlightened by and ennobled and heightened by the power of his poetry. He has proven his mettle in the field of teaching through an extraordinarily long and vibrant teaching career of outstanding pedigree. Means being in the teaching field for almost 35 years more and more. That's not a mean task. It is something that we need to give. For that he must be given enough recognition and acknowledgement. Being in the teaching field for almost more than 35 years, that itself shows his caliber and character. And his the capacity to endure within the field of especially teaching. And also his poems are endowed with. I'm going to talk about his poems. Probably for the first time, only I do talk about his poems from a digital platform. His poems are definitely endowed with traits, the qualities of unprecedented versatility that we come across in terms of his poetry. Unparalleled imaginative wavelength, evocative tone and tenor, in-depth refreshness, profound thought patterns, lovely versification, incredible candor, frankness, philosophical overtones and undertones, and never ever tested eloquent formulas. If you go through his poems, you come across all these characteristics and features, one after the other. They are lined up, they are layered out, they are inserted in a very systematic manner in his poems. I like his poetry inside out in a very enormous manner because of his composition of poetry stands apart from the rest in the circle or rest in the field. I cordially welcome him to this webinar, and I am pretty sure that he will starkly enlighten all of us on the given topic titled The Significant Stalwart of the Romantic Era. And when I talk about the significant stalwart of the Romantic Era, you may think that it is either William Wordsworth or Samuel Taylor Coleridge. These two figures that they kick-started the era of Romanticism in English literature through their publication of the monumental work, Lyrical Ballads. But these are not the poets we are going to discuss. Not William Wordsworth or Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Rather, it is P.B. Shelley. I think we always underrate this poet when we study the Romantic era. I think he had more influence upon the Romantic era than any other Romantic poets. That's the reality that we need to understand in no uncertain terms. Because his ideas, his ideals that got propagated all throughout the world I mean, after his death also, during his lifetime, he was never recognized, acknowledged. His works were not sold. His poems were not published. And he had to endure the, I think, the dagger of the censor board. Actually, he always he was charged with the sedition, and he had to cut or he had to trim down his poetic works in order to get it published. He was never recognized, acknowledged during his lifetime. But of course, after his lifetime, many intellectuals in the world got influenced by his theories, his pamphlets, his essays, and the power of his poetry. And that's you needed to take into account. So, Basudev, I just humbly request you to talk about this particular magnificent figure in the Romantic era, and none other than P.P. Shelley. Do you want it to be an interactive section, Basudevji? Because I have my question ready. What do you prefer? Basudevji, just you are unmuting yourself, please.
I'll be talking on Shelley.
Shelley, yes.
Yes, Shelley. I will have overall discussions about
Okay.
Shelley.
Okay,
Since our students are concerned, there is no specialization, there is no particular poem, but I like Shelley like anything. Why Shelley? Because the only thing I prefer to say is his revolutionary spirit, nothing else. His self-assertive mentality, and his self-assertive mentality is not harmful or destructive to nation building program, but he was adamant. And that is why I like him. I like Shelley like anything, And during my talk, you will come. I don't know how far you have read about Shelley, but you will come to know something about Shelley. So before I go on to say anything, and if you are interested, you can get a copy of my poem. This is my book. And if you get this book, you get it. No need to read my poems right now. I would suggest to write down the new words, new literary words, and take down the meaning from the Google dictionary. And in course of your time, you will come across to know about the meaning, and they will be feeling fulfilled. You'll feel fulfilled then. And get a copy, write down, there is a budding poet. There's a budding poet, and he studied almost, he marked up my poem. And he got so many words from my book. So, I have developed my pesha for vocabulary began from school life, class 6. I used to write new words from the dictionary, from the newspapers, from the books, and I possess that diary even today. And those wrong application of words are being corrected today. Okay, now let us go to the main topic, Shelley. And Shelley was born on 4th August. Unfortunately, we are having today 7. It would have been better if we could organize it on 4th August to commemorate this great romantic figure. Shelley's early life was very happier in the past of his sisters and his mother. Shelley's mother was very tutorial. His mother was instructive. Like the mother of Charlie Chaplin. you might have heard Charlie Chaplin. You know, Charlie Chaplin, uh, they lived in a poorer condition, almost in a slum, near a slum area. Mother of Charlie Chaplin would not allow him to mix with the urchin or brats, B-R-A-T-E-S, brats, because she knew if he had mixed with them, his tongue will be corrupted. Got my point? His tongue would be corrupted. That is why she forbade him not to go and mix with them. So this was his instructive mentality, and here in Shelley also, his mother uh, was very instructive and very friendly, you can say, and Shelley developed a tremendous like for hunting and riding. At the age of 6 only, 6, I cannot remember what I was at the age of 6, but Shelley showed his prodigy for a language. Just imagine. I have begun my career or writing, and I have been in foray into the poetry writing at the age of 58. At the age of 50, just imagine. And after 58, when I started writing, I wrote 365 poems in 365 days. It was my challenge. I did it. However, Shelley was bullied at school. Try to remember bully, B-U-L-L-Y, bullied at school. These had him violent. And life turbulent life began. How? I'll be talking about Shelley on this line. He developed fantasy towards science also. I don't know, in those days, they had tremendous fascination for science. Emily Dickinson developed a pesha, P-E-N-C-H-A-N-T, pesha, for science also. And her, liking for bioscience was tremendous. You might have heard the name Emily Dickinson, and Keats also. Keats, John Keats, it's a popular name. Keats is enough to rock the world. Keats also developed and began his career as a pharmacy, and that is why some critics call him pharmaco-political poet. You can write it down and know it. And why Shelley developed his liking for science becomes visible in the poem The Cloud. I change, but I cannot die. There is a scientific interpretation of cloud. You see, cloud, what we see in the natural world, it is like a cycle. It's a cycle. It evaporates and becomes a lump and then pours down on earth as a rain. It is a scientific phenomena. And Shelley was prankster. You keep it in mind. Prankster, suppose one girl is going. Shelley and his friend is standing. And his friend is telling, Shelley, can anybody go and talk to that girl? I will give him 5 rupees. So, he was like these only. Prankster in the college among the friends, prankster. So, and while experimenting with his scientific study, he blew up a pelling fence with the gunpowder once. This showed his inclination towards social upheaval. In 1804, Shelley entered Eton College. He refused to take part in fogging. Now, this is very important part. FAGGing, fogging. And now in all higher educational institution, there is a ragging. You might have known it. So at that time, it was ragging. Uh, what was that? The senior students would, imposition on Shelley because he was junior. And while staying in a hostel, seniors would come and tell Shelley, after our departure, you polish our shoes or broom the floor. So he was given such onerous duties, but Shelley was reluctant to do it. Shelley was reluctant to do it, even to the senior. You don't have the guts to say like this to the seniors. Shelley would say, no, I won't do it. I won't do it. And he was so adamant. He was so adamant. And henceforth, he was known as Mad Shelley. Mad Shelley, hi Mad Shelley, hi Mad Shelley. And he was hugely popular like this, Mad Shelley. And he was also known as the girl of the college. He was popularly known as the girl of the college. You see, you might have seen the picture of Shelley, and behind the frame of a girl, he had the spark. He had the spark, a revolutionary spark that nobody could dampen it until death. Shelley spent long hours at Oxford doing scientific experiments. This time his classmate Hogg became his best friend, H-O-G-G, Hogg. Hogg affected Shelley politically. He developed radical and anti-Christian views. This turning point is also very important. Shelley was, politically motivated against the dispensation. In reading out 1084, mother of 1084 novel by Mahashweta Devi, you might have heard. Mahashweta Devi's novel, mother of 1084, and in that novel, Bruti was the B-R-T-I. Bruti was the central protagonist, and he had, in him a revolutionary spark, and he stood against the establishment, against the dispensation. Her mother stood beside him, but Bruti did not like the ideology of his father, because father was domineering in a patriarchal setup. Patriarchy is a common word, you should know it. Dibbanath is the father of Bruti, and he won't take a glass of water also. His wife did all these things. His wife did all these things day in, day out. She had no time for rest, and Bruti revolted against it, and ultimately Bruti died, and his father was reluctant to send his own car to identify in the morgue in the hospital when someone from the morgue found him. So this was the domineering mentality of Dibbanath Chatterjee in a novel Mother of 1084. And here, and in those days, when Shelley was there, Shelley was wrote a book necessity of atheism. You must keep in mind, he wrote the necessity of atheism. In those days, learned persons are few and far between, not available like there is no much population explosion like today. So he wrote necessity of atheism, and the principle of Eton College, uh, necessity of atheism. Keep in mind, the principle could understand by the handwriting that this has been written by none other than Shelley. No one was happy. No one was happy because he wrote. He did not believe in the existence of God. He did not believe in the existence of God, and he was. Shelley was rusticated from Eton College. Shelley said, "Okay, goodbye, Eton. Observe the guards," and he went home. Spoke to his father. On hearing, his father also warned Shelley, "Don't do it." He left home. He left home. And Shelley's father also threatened him to cut all the relations with Shelley. But he did not hear it. He left home. And then he married to Harriet Westbrook. Married to Harriet Westbrook. Just remember it, I am telling you, for the rest of your life. Shelley had love affairs with 12 women. Shelley had love affairs with 12 women, but his love was pakka spiritual. He loved, unlike Kittian women. Keats was the poet of creamy breast. Keats was the poet of embalmed darkness, and Shelley was the poet of morning. Shelley was the poet of noon. And in Shelley's poem, you will never get dew, D-E-W. You will never get gloaming. And these terms you will get in Keats' poems. And Shelley, so far Shelley is concerned, he will get morning, noon. So he was so revolutionary. And why did he get married to Westbrook? Because she supported Shelley's political ideology. And Shelley revolted against the establishment and revolted against the dispensation. And whosoever came closer with Shelley, he got affected. And as a result, he got married to Westbrook. Harriet suffered the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune at home as well as at school. Shelley was at par with her. Shelley left with the sweet 16. West Harriet was only 16 and she looked exceptionally beautiful. He got attracted towards her and married on 28 August. Conflict began between Shelley's father and his father of Harriet Westbrook. Father of Harriet Westbrook, regarding money, regarding property, Shelley was the last man to compromise with his ideology. Hogg, I told you, his close friend. And in those days, there was a fascination, in case of Shakespeare also. Shakespeare wrote 154 sonnets. How many? 154 sonnets. And these sonnets were addressed to his number one friend, number two dark lady, number three his rival friend. And in those days, in the 16th century, you might have come to know, men's influence was greater than the influence of women. You must have read Edward II, Christopher Marlowe, Edward II. In Edward II, what happened? For the sake of friendship, the king discarded his own wife. Just imagine. For the sake of friendship, the king discarded his own wife. Shakespeare loved his friend very much. And at the same time, he loved Dark Lady. Why Dark Lady? Who is Dark Lady? There is a literary controversy over the true identity of Dark Lady. Even there is a literary controversy regarding the true identity of his friend. But suppose 3 friends are there, 1 girl is there, and in absence of somebody, they could love or fall in love with a girl. This was, prevalent in those days. And why I'm telling you, you might have heard the name Dorothy Wordsworth. Who is Dorothy Wordsworth? Some say Dorothy Wordsworth was the sister of Wordsworth, Dorothy. Some say Dorothy was his mother. Some say Dorothy was his beloved, was his wife. So literary controversy is there. Literary controversy is there. In case of Shelley also, it was, Shelley was not exception to it. And he used to visit the house of Hogg, H-O-W, I told you, and he got infatuated with Harriet Westbrook. Shelley called her. Shelley also developed an intense platonic love with Elizabeth Hissner, 28-year girl, school teacher. Shelley called her Hissner as the sister of my soul, at my second self. She became his confidante, C-O-N-F-I-D-A-N-T-E, confidante, alter ego. She became his intellectual companion on political arena. I told you, politics was very important so far Shelley is concerned, and his ideology was different, even from many of his contemporaries. Shelley developed liking for the poetry of Robert Sade. He suggested Shelley to reconcile 2 anti-views with his father and compromise. He preached atheism. In Queen Mab. Shelley and Mary eloped, E-L-O-P-E-D, eloped on 28th July. Shelley, Mary and Clara made their way across war-ravaged fronts, where Shelley wrote to Harriet to meet them there. Mary gave birth to Charles Bishop Shelley. In February 1815, Mary gave premature birth to a baby girl who died 10 days later. This deepened her depression, and here I begin the most important part of Shelley. Secret longing of the heart, or looking for the past, has been a romantic trait. And the term I use here, abroad is also associated with romanticism. So far romantic poetry is concerned, there are innumerable definitions, innumerable and very difficult to understand. And romanticism is difficult, like what? Somerset Maugham. Somerset Maugham is very, very pleasing to read, but difficult to understand. You see. So he was like that only. Now Shelley, I'll see Shelley as a British romantic abroad. Shelley as a British romantic abroad. Between 1792 and 1815, Britain was largely engaged in waging a bitter war against revolutionary France and then the Napoleonic Empire. The scramble and blockades rendered much of mainland Europe inaccessible. Traveling was perilous, dangerous, per se. Per se means immanent, means inherent. Inherent. Abroad was not just a place of escape. Abroad was not just a place of escape into poetic fancy, grand tour, or innocent holiday, but a political minefield as well. Shelley, along with the British Romantics, was obsessed as they had been with what kids called the viewless wings of poesy. They were the space beyond immediately visible reality, the limitless world of the imagination, the dream of the infinite elsewhere. The term abroad had more connotations than what I am telling you today. Byron described Shelley's funeral on the beach near Viagra in the following way. Shelley, on the cremation, Byron described the, scene and his feelings during that moment. Like it goes like this, I quote, you can have no idea what an extraordinary effect such a funeral pile has on a desolate shore with mountains in the backdrop and the sea before, and the singular appearance the salt and frankincense gave to the flame. All of Shelley was consumed, except his revolutionary heart, which is now preserved in spirits of wine. I unquote. Shelley and Mary eloped in 1814. Shelley, Mary, and Clara had already traveled Troyes, Latin word, meaning shared among three persons, means Shelley, Mary, and Clara. They had found France shattered by the war. He was enraptured by the glory of the Alps, Alps, Alps. How great is my rapture, he said. I, a fiery man with my heart full of youth and with my beloved at my side, I behold this lordly, immeasurable Alps. Here we find Shelley, we find Shelley, Wordsworth's pantheism. Wordsworth's pantheism here in Shelley also. And I tell you, all the romantic poets was poet of nature to some extent. And Wordsworth in particular is very much famous for nature. Otherwise, you are also romantic, you are the poet of nature also. I am also the poet of nature. Shiju sir is also the poet of nature. All, everyone, none. So, Alp mountain fascinated Shelley like anything. Midway, their journey, their cart driver riled them. Riled them, annoyed them by talking of how good the pasturage was for cows. Shelley, Mary, and Clara settled in Lucerne for a few weeks. They soon lost heart and interest. They decided to return to England via the water buses which ferried up and down the Rhine. Priggish and fastidious, they were shocked by the disgusting behavior of their fellow passengers. Having travelled and viewed the follies of other nations, my own country appears the most wonderful and the most enlightened. Clara said. He was popularly known as a most unromantic sentiment. Shelley's life is dramatically sparkling. Shelley's life was dramatically sparkling from 1818. He shifted permanently abroad. He shifted permanently abroad. He was a great wanderer around Italy. He wrote Ode to the West End at Florence in 1820. At this moment, Byron joined him. Byron joined him. You know who is Byron? Byron liked Shelley like anything. And this Byron likened the poetry of kids like urine. Just imagine. And on another occasion, I'll be speaking of kids. Kids' life was really pathetic, really pathetic. Tears trickle down if I go on telling about kids. Kids was not happy even till the end of his life. He suffered much. He smarted, not because of any psychological and upheaval, psychological hindrance and all, only for the criticism, only criticism, criticism avant-garded by quarterly review for his literary writings and all. So Byron's life was also very romantic, and his mother was responsible for being notorious during his lifetime. I will speak on, it will take day in, day out to speak on these personalities, be it Shelley, be it Keats, be it Wordsworth, be it Byron and all. I pronounce Byron, Byron, who said, I enjoyed all the girls of England. I enjoyed all the girls of England, accepting the queen whom I could not, accepting the mother whom I should not. Just imagine. So, one woman was talking between themselves and said, why are we running after Byron? Why are we running after Byron? And one lady said, his pale face is our lot. That is why we are running after Byron. So this is Byron in short, I tell you. And sensational description. Sensation is there. The moment you come about these personalities, you'll be hearing spellbound. You'll believe or disbelieve. I don't know. Coleridge once said, willing suspension or disbelief. Willing suspension or disbelief, you take it from me. Even most teachers don't understand the real meaning of the term. Willing suspension of disbelief. Suppose today's webinar confined to students only. No famous. Basudev Pal is very insignificant person, and who is speaking about Shelley, very insignificant. But if you think I enjoy his talk, I enjoy talking about Shelley, this is his pleasure. No need for biggest platform, academic platform. If you get enjoyment, out of ordinary things, that is very important. And that is why Coleridge said, willing suspension of disbelief. Willing suspension of disbelief. So, Shelley's brief life was endlessly turbulent, very turbulent. The exquisite landscape inspired Shelley greatly. Landscape, pulled him greatly. The presence of Jane Williams, her enigmatic beauty, egged him on writing some of his most serenely beautiful lyric poems. The eerie calm of lines written in the Bay of Larcy and with a guitar to Jane preceded a storm, S-T-O-R-M, storm. In July 1820, he went out sailing in the bay with friends. Their boat, the Ariel, the name of the boat was Ariel. Shelley's body was washed up. Some days later, it was unrecognizable except for a copy of Keats' Hyperion folded in his jacket pocket. This is Shelley. This is Shelley, I tell you. I pronounce him from the deepest recesses of my heart. Thank you very much, Shiju, and my precious students. Thank you very much for. Actually, I am very happy also to say something about Shelley. I am mad in Shelley also. Shelley, got me mad. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay. Okay. If students do have any questions, you can post right now. If you have any questions to post to Basudev, you can do so right now.
That was a wonderful session. Thank you so much, sir. Now we are moving on to the Q&A session. All the doubts and questions can be raised in the chat box. Sir, the questions will be read out and you can answer them.
If you have any questions, you can post. It is the question answer section only. You're most welcome also.
In the chat box, na?
Yeah, yes. I think it will be read out to you if it is posted, of course.
I am not getting it.
Yeah, no, nothing of that sort. Nothing has come in. Once the questions come in, that will be read out to you.
You can ask any question, no problem. We are actually, I before.
Okay, it is posted, so it will be read out to you. Okay.
Sir, the question is asked by Andrea. Sir, what do you think about the power of the visionary imagination and of poetry by P.B. Shelley?
Yes, pardon. Imagination.
What do you think about the power of the visionary imagination and of poetry by P.B. Shelley?
Yes, very nice question. Without imagination, nothing could be done. Imagination, thinking, motivation. Shelley, I know, and I told you the meaning. He was turbulent. You know about Shelley's life. He was turbulent and he was self-assertive. Uh, that is why he was known as Matt Shelley. But his imagination, even with the sight of the Alps mountain, captivated his mind to writing this poem. And Shelley wrote some wonderful poems with the help of imagination. Because Shelley was idealism. Shelley was idealism, while going through the poem of To a Scholar. There are two scholar poems, one is by Wordsworth, To the Scholar, and one is by Shelley, To a Scholar. And in those two poems, Scholar means birds. Birds in the Romantic era, in the 19th century, influenced very much, and with the help of imagination, he immortalized the bird of Scholar. This is the imagination is a must for everybody, for you also. Without imagination, you cannot do anything. And Shelley did very well with the help of imagination and all. Okay. Then.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other doubts?
Read Shelley. There should be no doubt. And
so then we can get into the valedictory section.
Okay. Next one, pass on. And I signal to the students, henceforth, even if you think to know anything about any individual, any authors, any poets, you can talk to me, you can message me, you can WhatsApp me, you can mail me, and take the address from Shiju sir and all. You know what I believe. You know, I do not believe in giving out the lecture, declamation rather. I don't like. I like, discussion. You say something, I say something. Out of discussion, something new could evolve. That is exactly what I believe. But on reality, this is sometimes not possible in the classroom also, because constraint, time, time bound, syllabus is there. We have to finish. We have to run. So if you go on discussing and try to evolve something new, sometimes it is not possible. So far, our education policy is concerned in India, we are we are very much following the British rule and all, even today in blood and all. Okay, thank you.
Sir, there is another question. And the question is raised by Sanuja. Sir, in order to the west wing, it was about a revolutionary spirit. Did Shelley accomplish in bringing that spark in the world, into the world? What your take on it, sir?
Shall spirit? You tell it again, please.
Aleena, repeat the question once again, please.
Yes, sir. Okay. Sir, in all to the west wind, in it was about a
What
revolutionary
to the west wind? I was not hearing you. What to the west wind?
west wind. It was about a revolutionary spirit. Did Shelley accomplish in bringing that spark into the world? What your take on it, sir?
Yes, very nice question. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? This is what exactly Shelley believed in life, in few words. Because Shelley believed, in a cloudy weather, our mind becomes bad or becomes sad. Ah, but after sometimes cloud disperses and sun shines again, comes into our life. And Shelley also believed, and Shelley dreamt of golden millennium, dreamt of golden millennium, and that is why Shelley in West Wind, invoked. And I tell you one thing, during those days, you say like Milton, while writing or undertaking the tremendous job on Paradise Lost, Milton invoked to the muse. Who is muse? Muse is the inspiration, a mythic figure, illusion. So they used to do it before doing anything. Even today, when you leave for college, you pronounce your parents, you pronounce your Saraswati and all these things. You don't do, you do it. We do it because superstition is still there. And in doing some great work, you try to seek permission or blessing from your teachers, from your seniors, from your parents. So Shelley invoked voice trained.
It's 7 o'clock.
What did he invoke? He invoked, hey West Wind, give me the power. Give me the power like you, so that I can establish, I can reconstruct the society I dream of. And that is why his famous line, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? Clear?
will conclude then, okay? Aishwarya, please go ahead with the
Thank
valedictory
you,
section.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, okay, very, very nice. You study well, stand on your own feet.
Okay, sir. So, due to time constraint, we are winding up the session. Now, I invite Ms. Aishwarya Biju of second year BA English to propose the vote of thanks.
Ah, say beautiful words.
It indeed is a proud privilege to acknowledge the souls responsible for the success of today's session. First of all, let me take this opportunity to thank the principal of KCMT, Reverend Father Joshi Chiramkuri CMI, an esteemed individual of lovely manners and optimistic way of life. On behalf of the Department of English, I thank him from the bottom of my heart. Mr. Basudev Paul, the Honourable Speaker of the day, has taken us to a world of various intricate aspects through the interactive session, the significant Stalwart of the Romantic era. Through his spontaneous articulation and lively presentation and in-depth approach, he has made this session so worthwhile and interesting. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you, thank you.
Mr. Cijo Joseph Chennelil, the dynamic actuary of the English department, is our pillar and pride. The English department has reached enviable heights under his inspiring leadership. I express my sincere gratitude to you, sir, for being here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also thank the brains and hands behind this webinar, Ms. Sheena Susan Baby. Organizing this program in such a splendid way and stellar manner deserves an applause. Last but not least, I express my heartfelt gratitude to the students of the English department of KCMT for their wholehearted support. I also thank all the participants for your valuable presence during these uncertain times. Thank you all.